Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're digging into a really interesting dinosaur, Begsy. It's quite new on the scene.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And it's giving us a fresh look at the origins of horned dinosaurs.
Exactly. We're mainly working off the scientific paper describing it, which has been helpfully summarized. And our goal really is to figure out why this particular find, Begsy, matters so much in that whole story.
Yeah.
You know, the ceratopsian evolution story.
Right. It's a key piece.
Okay, let's get into it. So, Begsy, what's the context? When was it around?
Well, the evidence points pretty clearly to the early Cretaceous.
Okay.
Specifically, it's kind of sitting right on that boundary
Wow.
between the lower and upper Cretaceous. So think roughly 113 to 94 million years ago.
That's a critical time, isn't it? Lots happening then.
Absolutely pivotal. I mean, you've got loads of dinosaur groups really diversifying, branching out. So finding Begsy right then gives us a glimpse into those really early evolutionary steps for its group.
And where did they actually find it? Where did it, turn up?
The main fossil, the holotype, that's the reference
Bard
specimen.
standard.
Yeah, that was found in Mongolia.
Okay, Mongolia, known for great fossils.
Definitely. Specifically in the Ulanoush Formation. It's near a town called Tsok-Ovu, down in the Undagovi province.
Oh, right, the Gobi region.
Exactly. It's a real hotspot, that whole area, for early Cretaceous stuff. And the Begsy holotype itself, that was discovered back in 2015.
2015, so fairly recent in paleontological terms.
Very much so.
Now, the name, Begsy, it sounds quite distinctive. Is there a story there?
Oh, absolutely. The genus name Beg, it comes from Begsy.
Begsy.
Yeah, a Himalayan war deity, actually, but one that's really significant in Mongolian culture, too.
The war deity. Wow.
And this deity, Begsy, is often shown with this very rugged, kind of wrinkled face and body armor.
Okay.
And the scientists describing the dinosaur saw a resemblance between that imagery and the texture on the dinosaur skull bones.
Ah, I see. The rugose texture.
Exactly. So calling it Begsy is a direct nod to that cultural figure. Pretty cool link.
That is cool. I love when there's that sort of connection between the science and, local culture or mythology.
Me too. Adds another layer to it.
So let's place it on the big family tree. Scientifically speaking, where does Begsy fit?
Okay, so classification. Kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, obviously. Clade Dinosauria.
Standard stuff.
Right. Then within dinosaurs, it's an ornithischian, one of the bird-hipped dinosaurs.
Which is always slightly confusing, given birds came from the other group.
Yeah, the lizard-hipped ones. Always worth remembering. But anyway, Begsy is an ornithischian. Then, more specifically, it's in the clade ceratopsia.
The horned dinosaurs.
That's the one. Includes everything from Psittacosaurus right up to Triceratops. And Begsy is within that group in an even more specific clade called Neoceratopsia.
Neoceratopsia, so the new horned dinosaurs.
Sort of, yeah. It's the group that includes the more derived forms, the ones with the beginnings of or fully developed, neck frills and horns. And here's the really big news.
Okay.
Begsy is currently considered the most basal Neoceratopsian known.
The most basal. Whoa, okay, unpack that. What does basal mean here?
It means it's right down near the evolutionary root of that Neoceratopsia branch. Like, it branched off earlier than any other known Neoceratopsian.
So it's like the earliest known member of that whole advanced horned dinosaur group.
Pretty much. Think of it as being really close to the starting point for all the others that came later. The protoceratopsids, the ceratopsids like Triceratops.
Wow. Okay, so that's why it's significant.
Hugely significant.
Yeah.
It gives us potentially our best look yet at what those very first Neoceratopsians were like. What features they had just as this major group was getting started.
Right. So what did it look like? I mean, based on what they found, you mentioned the skull.
Yeah, our main window into Begsy is that partial skull. The holotype. It's not huge, about 140 millimeters long.
About 5.5 inches.
Right. We also have some bits from the rest of the skeleton, what we call postcranial remains. But they're pretty fragmentary.
Like what?
Well, there's a piece of a rib, part of the left shoulder blade, the scapula, a bit of the right ischium, that's a pelvic bone, and then just a bunch of other unidentifiable bone fragments.
So definitely a partial picture, like doing a jigsaw with only a few corner pieces.
A good way to put it,
Yeah.
But based on the skull size, even though it's partial?
You can estimate?
Exactly. Scientists estimate Begsy was probably a medium-sized basal ceratopsian.
Meaning? Compared to what?
Meaning likely similar in overall size to other early ceratopsians like, say, Yinlong or Leoceratops.
Okay, so not huge, but not tiny either. A respectable medium size for that time and that group.
Precisely. Gives us a ballpark idea.
And given its position, being so basal, what does it tell us about how these dinosaurs changed over time? You mentioned transitional features earlier.
Yes, and this is where it gets really exciting from an evolutionary perspective.
Yeah.
Because Big C sits right there at the base of the Neoceratopsia tree, it shows this fascinating mix of traits.
A mix. How so?
Well, it has some features that look quite primitive, things you'd see in even earlier ceratopsians that aren't Neoceratopsians.
Okay, like its ancestors or distant cousins.
Exactly. But then it also shows some features, maybe just hints of them, that become much more developed and characteristic in the later, more advanced Neoceratopsians.
Ah, so it's bridging the gap.
Perfectly put. It's a bridge. It's phylogenetically intermediate. It sits right between those more primitive forms and the later, more derived Neoceratopsians.
So it physically shows us that transition happening.
It gives us solid fossil evidence for it.
Yeah.
It helps us visualize what that common ancestor of all later Neoceratopsians might have looked like before they went off in all those different directions with fancy frills and horns.
That's incredible. Like finding a missing link almost. Or maybe a better term is a transitional fossil.
Transitional fossil is a great term for it, yeah. It really helps connect the dots in the evolutionary story.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about its world? What was life like back then in Cretaceous Mongolia, where Big C lived? What else was around?
Well, the Ulanouche Formation, where it was found, gives us some clues about the paleoecology.
Right.
We know Big C wasn't alone. Fossils from the same layers show it shared its habitat with other creatures.
Such as?
We have evidence of sauropods.
The big long necks.
Yep, those giants were around. Also, turtles. Different types of turtles have been found there.
Okay. Sauropods, turtles, early horned dinosaurs.
And interestingly, dinosaur eggs. Fossilized eggs assigned to something called Parapheviolithus. We don't know for sure who laid them, but it tells us dinosaurs were nesting in the area.
So it was a functioning ecosystem. Herbivores, big and small, reptiles.
Absolutely. It gives you a snapshot of that particular time and place in the early Cretaceous. Big C was part of this whole community.
It really paints a picture. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. If we were to summarize the key points from our deep dive on Big C, what should people take away?
I think, first and foremost, is its status as the most basal known Neoceratopsian. That's a huge deal for understanding the group's origins.
Right, the starting point.
Second, its estimated size medium, like Yinlong or Leoceratops, gives us a sense of the early body plan. And third, maybe most importantly, those transitional features, the mix of primitive and derived traits that really show us evolution in action.
Bridging that gap.
Exactly. Oh, don't forget the name. That connection to Mongolian culture is pretty special, too.
Definitely adds a unique flavor. It's a reminder that these aren't just bones, they're part of a place, a history, even mythology.
Well said.
So, thinking ahead, here's something for you, the listener, to ponder. We only have a partial skull, right? And some fragments.
Very incomplete.
So what else might we find if we discover more complete remains of Big C? What surprising features could be hiding? What did the whole animal actually look like?
Yeah, could it have had some early form of frill we can't see yet?
Oh,
Different body proportions?
exactly. And how did its specific environment, sharing the world with sauropods and turtles in that part of ancient Mongolia, really shape its evolution in ways we just, well, can't guess at yet?
It's tantalizing. So much still potentially waiting out there.
It really is. A great place to leave it. Thanks for exploring the deep past with us today.